I kind of went on one last time on my little live. If you see it, then you know what I'm saying. I might even put that on my YouTube because it's like at some point in time, you kind of got to make things personal. You got to talk about your own personal trauma and like hold that the catharsis is when you let it go. You know what I'm saying? That's a state of catharsis, which is a part of the curative factors in relationship to group therapy. So, you know, I have to, you know what I'm saying, achieve that catharsis at the moment, at a certain moment when I'm just like, fuck it, let me just put it on the table. And I feel about my family and their portrayal. And that's where I was kind of like, you know, because it really, like, just even talking to Leah about this, you know, to a certain extent, it just doesn't work as much as it is to, like, just kind of, like, get it out there. Like, you know, again, I'm like, you know, and if I start talking about certain aspects from certain things from a certain aspect, or to put, you know what I'm saying, to give a certain perspective to things I'm talking about from a personal aspect, I get emotional, you know what I'm saying? Because I was like, first I started off like, you know, I really, it's my mom, I don't expect her, and I use my mom for, you know what I'm saying, for the sake of conversation. Because that's the way in which we conversate until we find some better way to describe people, or at least a mind state to describe people in relationship to our lives. I mean, I do share 23 of the woman's chromosomes. So, but anyway, uh, I started off talking about how, you know, there's bad parents. People, you know, everybody's not born to be a great parent. Everybody's not born with great parental instincts. And that has a lot to do with the interpersonal relationships in which our personalities are derived from. But that aside, and that's what my original point was, that, you know what I'm saying, that necessarily she didn't have the nurturing, you know what I'm saying, attributes necessary, you know what I'm saying, needed to rear a child. And that would have been fine. I would have been a lot and I'm still happy. You know what I'm saying? But I think it would have been a lot easier, a lot more forgivable. Not in the traditional sense of forgivable. Not in the sense that I'm taking responsibility for my own shit, my own recovery. Forgivable. But in the sense of forgivable in the traditional sense that you can get over some shit. Or you can, you know what I'm saying, repair a relationship. If my mother was like just a bad parent, you know what I'm saying, just a bad parent as a result of that, she just didn't have parental skills. There was no deliberate intent. There was no there was no forethought into her behavior. You know what I'm saying? That she didn't have. I'm a neglected parent. I just, you know what I'm saying, I'm just not conscious of the fact that I was a neglected parent. My mom took conscious, deliberate, intentional, um, um, uh, shit, fucking attacks on me. You know what I'm saying? And the thing about it, it's been so subtle, and it's been so, and it's not at the same time. It's right out there in your face. I mean, like, it's so crazy. It's like, instead of just like, okay, maybe I'm like, I'm just a little flabbergasted because I'm at this point where I'm like realizing that my mother was intentionally, that's the word, that's the description I want, was intentionally and deliberately attempting to create chaos in my life. That my mother intentionally and deliberately did not want to see my success and foster codependency. Now it stems from a mental disorder, and I recognize that narcissism is a mental disorder, and based upon that disorder, there is going to be a level of intention in her behavior, that she is going to consciously engage in this behavior, this abusive behavior. But it's still a little offsetting to think, damn, you know, this mental illness, this narcissistic personality disorder, and is the reason why my mother intentionally behaved the way she behaved. But at the same time, it also gives a certain level of puts things in a certain level of perspective. Like, for the majority of my life, I just thought my mom hated me. That my mother just, and I was, and again, in this idea that my mom hated me, and this
preconceived perception of how you're supposed to have a relationship with your mother, especially as a black male, there's a level of guilt on my side and a certain level of responsibility that I take or fault that I take as for our relationship not being what it should be. And then there's this idea again that that I'm not worthy of my mother's love, but that all feeds into her and feeds into her game of withholding her validation. Her love is her validation, and that's a part of her narcissistic, you know what I'm saying, disorder. As a part of the disorder, as part of the behavior derived from the disorder, is that she's never going to give that validation. And matter of fact, she's going to make me pay dearly in order to get the validation, or even devalue me in hopes of me seeking her validation. Now, I started seeking Carol's validation kind of a long time ago, but I guess I didn't. On a conscious level, I thought I started seeking her validation. Like at 14, 15, when, you know, she started kicking me out of the house. And I pretty much had to survive on my own, that I stopped, you know, thinking about Carol in that sense. I mean, Carol cut me off from like dental and fucking health at 16. You know, I mean, look at these teeth. So it's like at some point in time, I just, you know, but still unconsciously, I was seeking this validation that every boy seeks from his mother. You know what I'm saying? It's, you know, it's that's basic Freud. You know what I'm saying? That, you know, all males seek this certain level of validation from their mother and so on and so forth. So I was still seeking the validation from my mother up until fucking, like, you know what I'm saying, until a restraining order. Pretty much up until the restraining order, I was seeking Carol's validation, and Carol was all. I mean, even after, you know, and then she got my stuff put in the storage, was supposed to turn the storage over to me, and created situations in which she could continue to foster codependency. You know, like withholding my stuff, even telling the people that held my stuff that they could sell my stuff, and not taking the stuff out of her name and putting it in my name so they could deny access to my stuff. And then she got involved and lied and said that, you know, that first she told them that it was her stuff and they could do whatever the fuck they wanted to do with it, and then try to make me the bad guy again for wanting my stuff. You know what I'm saying? So I can never have a relationship with Carol again. I mean, after what just happened, from the point of, you know, this restraining order, taking advantage of me, taking my money from me, not returning the loan, and then trying to have every single thing that I owned just taken from me, sell it off. This person can't possibly love me, and I don't necessarily think the person that she actually knows what love is, because she doesn't love Brian either. You know what I'm saying? She didn't love Calvin. She didn't love Alton. She uses people for the purpose of manipulation. You know what I'm saying? She literally turned my brother against me. You know what I'm saying? Me and Brian had at periods of time a very strong relationship, and Carol used every single method that she could to, like, put a wedge between that relationship. You know what I'm saying? Between me and Brian. And me and Brian will never get back. Me and Brian will never be where we were. You know what I'm saying? Before she came in Buffalo. Before she came and picked us up in Buffalo. But she had already fostered, like, some animosity between me and Brian before Buffalo. You know, while we were in Columbus, South Carolina. She had fostered, you know what I'm saying? I mean, like, things like, like making Brian a big brother. You know what I'm saying? Like, early on, Carol, like, would give Brian money and make Brian responsible for the money for us both. When neither of us showed either responsibility for money or irresponsibility for money, Brian was automatically more responsible for money. So Brian's in his mindset, he's more responsible for money. When Brian, you know what I'm saying, when I'm on the street, begs me for money. Wait a minute, you're in an apartment with a woman who makes $75,000 a year and you ask me for $40, nigga? How are you more responsible with money than I am? I don't get that shit. So it's like, you know, I mean, and then I get gaslit into this idea that my brother is somehow more responsible, more mature than I am. When Brian is neither more responsible nor more mature than I am. But Brian has been caught into this delusion that he's more responsible and more mature than I am. When by no stretch of the imagination he is. Brian is emotionally and psychologically fucking 7 years old, maybe 13. You know what I'm saying? The only thing that Brian has maturated in is his physical, his physiology and his intelligence. But everything else about Brian is a little boy. Brian is emotionally a little boy. Brian is psychologically a little boy. Brian has no control over his emotions whatsoever. You know what I'm saying? And if you had any motherfucking goddamn interaction with my brother, you know he has absolutely no emotional or psychological control. But yet he's the maturest of the two of us, according to my mother. And only according to my mother. Only according to Carol are these things right about Brian. In relationship to everybody else, Brian's not perceived that way. And it's crazy when I talk to people and people are like, well, your brother gave me an entirely different depiction of who you are than who you are. I was expecting an entirely different person than the person that I met. And that person that they were expecting to meet was far inferior to the person that they actually met. Because my brother has this inferior depiction of me or image of me that he fucking transfers to other people or tries to transfer on me. It's called parataxic distortion. That he tries to transfer on me that he inherited from my mother and also shares with my sister. You know what I'm saying? So, it's and my aunt. Oh my God, Pam. Oh Jesus Christ. Pam acted like a fucking nut when we were in that house. We couldn't go grocery shopping without Pam losing her fucking mind. Accusing us of stealing her wine and all. Dude, if I have any level of anything that's close to hate to any fucking human being on the planet Earth, it is Pamela fucking Jones. And I want to say that. I cannot stand that woman. That is an evil little person. I cannot stand Pam. And I'm saying that on the line. I've said that in secret, behind her back, to her face, in private. I fucking can't stand you, Pam. You are evil beyond evil. You are a sick fucking person. You are sicker than Carol. Real talk. And if anybody hears it, I'm glad you hear it. That's from me, from my mouth right there. Pam is the sickest person I have ever had the misfortune of having a relationship. Psychologically and emotionally, a fucking wreck. And I just had my emotional little break there. I can't talk about this shit.